Distribution provided by Cloud Sigma, the cloud that adapts to you. Visit cloudsigma.com/thisweekin for a free $200 credit.
Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Turnstone. More than furniture, we're an experience. Go to myturnstone.com/twist to learn more and receive 10% off your first order. And by the Resumator. Try the Resumator, the hiring solution used by today's fastest growing startups. Start a free trial at theresumator.com/twist.
Hey everybody, it's Friday, April 12th, 2013. It's our news roundtable on This Week in Startups, the show where we discuss entrepreneurship, technology, startups, and products that are trying to change the world. We've got a full show today with a lot of interesting news about Aereo, News Corp, New York Times, Yahoo, Reddit, just lots of stuff going on. And boy, do we have a great all-star panel with us. Cyan Banister, serial angel investor. She is prolific. And Vivek Wadhwa, who is just a really brilliant mind and commentator and former entrepreneur and all-around hyper-intelligent guy. Kieran Kalia is going to read the news deftly. Stick with us. It's going to be a great show.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody. It's April 12th, 2013. This is This Week in Startups, the show where we discuss entrepreneurship, the show where we discuss startup companies, building products, investing in them, exiting them, scaling them, failing them, all of the things that matter to entrepreneurs and founders. And we've been doing this show for 341 episodes. It's the 342nd episode. And I got to tell you something, somewhere around 200 episodes, the show became watchable. And now I think it's pretty damn good, I'll be honest. But hey, the show's getting better.
What about those poor people in the first 200?
Oh, they're screwed. I feel like, this is the thing about when you look back on your work, you just feel like burning. And this is a great thing about entrepreneurship. If an entrepreneur shows you something and doesn't start with, I absolutely hate this, they're not a real entrepreneur. Like, you have to hate what you just made in order to be a great entrepreneur, right? You have to have that.
You have to make it better.
Exactly. And of course, that's Kieran Kalia, who's been with me for a couple of decades, took a little break in between.
Couple of decades.
How
old are we?
A couple.
All right.
I said a couple. It's two. Right. Originally at Silicon Valley Reporter and now at Launch, and she does a great job reading the news, and we have a lot in the news this week that we're going to get through. Zuck on immigration, News Corp battling Aereo, Google Fiber comes to Austin, AppGratis pulled from the App Store, Google Ventures, and Kleiner and Andreessen Horowitz teaming up on a Google Glass fund ecosystem, Yahoo and Apple doing a big partnership. The Mike Arrington saga continues. New York Times on Marissa Mayor's startup strategy, the IRS reading your email without a warrant, We Live in Public founder, just tons of great news to discuss. And I want to just start by thanking my friends at the Resumator. I've been using this product for 4 or 5 years. Actually, you use it, Kieran, as well.
I have used it many times. It's great.
Fantastic. We used to keep all of our job applications prior to the Resumator in Excel spreadsheets and in our email boxes, which meant, God, it was inefficient. Now it normalizes everything, puts it in software as a service, in a web-based service that is flawless. We have over 18,000 applicants to my various companies over the last 5 years that have been using the product, and now they're a sponsor of the program. And this is one of the great things about my life, is I'm so lucky that there's so many people who are loyal to the program and support it because they love the content, they love entrepreneurs, they love the audience. And I only will accept advertising and sponsors and partners, that's why we call them partners, from people who we use their product. And this is like a dream come true for me because I can tell you how the Resumator works. I don't even have to read the copy that the team wrote for me, but I will because that's always good. Market your openings on job boards, your website, and social media. Screen resumes based on your job criteria. We do that. Track applicants through the hiring process. We do that. It's obviously more efficient, and we can stay competitive by reducing our time and cost per hire. Customers include Launch, Inside, Instagram, Pinterest, Hootsuite. It's an all-star list. What am I doing on it? Never let a lack of hiring experience stand in the way of your company's growth. Get a free trial, theresumator.com/twist. And my favorite feature of it is now you can ask questions. So when people apply from Craigslist, we ask them like 3 or 4 questions. And we try to ask questions like when we were hiring somebody to be a producer of the show, we'll ask like, what's your favorite episode and why?
Well, and we also ask them, who do you think should be on the show who hasn't been on yet?
That's a really good one. one. I didn't even know we asked that, but that's
did,
good.
yeah.
And so, like, Kieran is empowered to do this hiring, and she uses the tool. So there you go. And you asked that question why?
I did because I want to see if they've got an idea of who we actually usually book, and if they've looked at the archive enough to tell who we have and haven't had on.
Right. And we want to hire people who fit a certain profile. And if you're not willing to watch the show, then don't apply for the thing. You know, we want to set a high benchmark
Yep.
and not deal with noise in the hiring process. So that worked out really well for us. And thank you to the Resumator for supporting the program. On the program today, Cyan Banister is with us again. How are you doing, Cyan?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for wearing that awesome headset. I will admonish Vivek for not doing it next. But thank you for using Postmates to get that over there in an hour. That's pretty cool. Are you an investor in Postmates as well?
I'm an investor in Postmates, yeah, and they really saved the day today, so I'm pretty happy.
And the fidelity is so great. So you just said to Postmates on your iPhone, get me a headset that's high quality from wherever, and they go and get it.
Yeah, basically I had a link to a suggestion that was sent to me from your team, and I just put the link to the Amazon. It was like a Plantronics headset. I said, get me something like this, and I need it in the next hour.
Wow.
And so they got it here.
We live in the future. God almighty. And
Pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I love Postmates. And of course, you've invested in, 50, 100 startups at this point?
Well over 50, yes.
Well over 50, and you tore it up at the Launch Festival. Thanks for being on the Angel Investor panel. That was great.
And she did office hours too?
And office hours too. I always appreciate that, doing the small, more intimate office hours. Also,
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, on the program, Vivek Wadhwa is with us again, academic, researcher, writer, and entrepreneur. How you doing, Vivek?
Good, thank you.
But no headset for you. You did not use Postmates to get a high-quality headset. Hey, Brandis,
I
Karen.
don't have an Amazon power that...
Here's what we do. Just send him the Plantronics DSP-400. That's my favorite headset.
Okay.
Just send it to him. It's a gift from me to you, Vivek. But welcome back to the program, and you've been writing a lot on... You're part of the Wall Street Journal Accelerators columnist program, as well as the Washington Post on a pretty regular basis, yeah?
and Forbes and ASE and a bunch of others.
And formerly of TechCrunch. So let's get to the news. Let's get the Mike Arrington story out of the way so I can just say my piece on it and get this over with.
Move on. So
I would like to, yeah. And by the way, just for clarity, the only reason we're bringing this up is we brought it up last week. It's a news program. I don't want to obsess over it. I know I'm tangentially related to the story, and so I feel like it's dishonest for me as doing a news program about this to not talk about what is the most buzzed about story, but I also don't want to obsess on it, and you'll hear my comments after Kieran just explains what's going on with the situation.
Okay, so just very briefly, April 7th, Mike issues his first statement on this. He says he's hired a lawyer. He's asked them to contact the appropriate law enforcement agencies about these false allegations. April 11th, that's yesterday, he published his lawyer's letter, which contains text from Jen Allen's and Facebook posts. It references Heather Hardy's statement, which supports Mike and says she, knows nothing about any kind of abuse or anything of that nature. She totally supports him. April 12th, that's today, Mike responds to Julia Allison's allegations that were in Gawker that he was abusive toward Megan Asha, and that's where you come in.
Yeah. So Mike and I had a bad falling out, as bad as it gets.
That's true.
When that happens, everybody feels it necessary to tell you everything bad about the person. So I'm sure everything anybody ever had as a gripe with me in my 20-year career, they go to Mike and say, Jason's a bad guy. And the same happens for me. Anybody who's, Mike fired or this, they want to come to me and talk about it and commiserate about it. For 3 years, I have distanced myself from Mike and focused on my own projects, and that's gone very well for me. I'd like to continue that. Mike doesn't need me in his life. I don't need Mike in my life. That being said, I am being dragged into this because Julia Allison reportedly made a phone call to me that contained information that people feel is pertinent to this case. I am not going to say, I have confirmed that there was a phone call that occurred. I can't deny that I was not called. But what was said in that phone call is something that is not for me to say publicly because it's hearsay. It is not firsthand knowledge of any of these situations. So I do not feel comfortable talking about it, which should tell people that I do not have an axe to grind. Because if I did have an axe to grind, I could come out and said a lot of things and rumors I've heard. All I did was write a Facebook post that I feel like, I got duped by Mike, and that has mainly to do with his behavior towards me. And I feel like, I don't like Mike. I think he's got problems, and I hope he gets help. And, we have our own problems. I'm sure he would say the same thing to me. I don't like Jason. I hope he gets help. He's got something wrong with him, right? We both feel mutually about that. Now, in this situation, there are 4 people who know what happened. Mike, the woman from Real Names, the woman from Megan Asha, and this Jen Allen. Those are the 4 people who know what happened. The legal process and the courts are going to have to figure this out. Pulling me into it with my history with Mike, pulling other people like Heather, who has a positive history with Mike, pulling Jen's character witness, these character witnesses, this is all getting very nasty and is not very productive. I implore the people who are involved to get the cops involved if they need to be involved, their lawyers involved, and work it out on their own, and I wish them all the best. But I don't need to be involved in this. And it's nasty stuff, it's nasty business, and to be honest, any of the possibilities are true at this point. One person could be telling the truth, the other one could be lying. One person could be lying, the other one could be telling the truth, or they could be both lying, both telling the truth, or any permutation of all those things. And since you have 3 different cases, this is a web of possible truths and possible that I don't even know how it gets unspun. I've never been involved in anything like this in my life. I don't know anybody who's ever committed any kind of crimes. I don't know if a crime was committed here or not, and I don't like being involved in it. I don't like domestic abuse. I've seen domestic abuse up close and personal. It's a very personal issue to me, so I take it dead serious. And if I'm called as a character witness, or if I get subpoenaed or I get sued, I am fine with that. If anybody wants to sue me or to have me be deposed, I will be deposed. But until that time, nobody needs to hear from Jason Calacanis about this.
Let's move on then.
What's that?
Should we move on?
And we will move on, unless Vivek or Cyan, on the off chance, want to say something.
All I wanted to say is that when I read the uncrunched article about Jen, I felt sorry for her that, putting pictures of her up there, emails, including the email addresses, and the disproportionate response, I felt so sad for that poor lady. I don't know what's true or false here, and I'm not going to comment on that, but I really, really feel for her and for women who, feel that they've been abused. She obviously feels that she's been wrong. That's why she's speaking up. So my sympathies for her.
Okay. Cyan has said nothing, so I'll take that as she wants to move on to the next story. So let's move on to the next story.
So,
and just like the thing here is we've all had relationships or have relationships with Mike, so this is also very complicated, So I don't expect I just hope everybody stops commenting on it except people with first-hand knowledge.
Yep.
That's what needs to happen. Over and out. Press, do not call me. Mike Arrington's lawyers, if you want to call me, you can call me. If you want to depose me, you can depose me. I have no fear of that. I'm absolutely fine with that. If message to Mike Arrington or his lawyers, depose me, fine. I'll tell you everything I know. Let's move on.
Let's move on. So let's talk about Mr. Zuckerberg's piece in the Washington Post yesterday, announcing this new organization called Forward.us to focus on immigration reform as well as some education and investing in scientific research kind of issues. He's got a very high-profile group of people on board: Reid Hoffman, Eric Schmidt, Marissa Mayer, Drew Chamath, John Doerr, Paul Graham, Mary Meeker, Max Levchin. It's quite the all-star group. He, in this piece, also noted that his great-grandparents came through Ellis Island. He believes that kids whose parents brought them here should be part of our future. We're moving towards a knowledge economy. We need the best people we can. So is this actually going to make a political impact, and who's going to listen?
Well, this is Vivek's speciality. Go ahead, Vivek.
I should be really excited about it. I should be celebrating the fact that we have Mark Zuckerberg and all these other people chiming in and saying all the right things. But when I read the press release, when I read his op-ed, my first reaction was, this is a publicity stunt. That it's little more than press, and I'm skeptical that anything will come from it. I see this as what Zuckerberg did when he did his $100 million Newark schools announcement, that he was in trouble, looking bad in the press, so he does a big press release and gives out some money. I fear that this is simply him giving out some money and trying to grab attention, grab the centerpiece in something. Because even when I looked at the prescriptions, it's like motherhood and apple pie. He's throwing everything in there. We need to do this. We need to have comprehensive. We need to have a pathway to citizenship. We need to look after skilled immigrants. And then we need to have university research. We need to have this and that. I didn't see a focused, targeted campaign, and I didn't see any groundswell. When I read the Politico article, I think Kieran mentioned Eric Schmidt. I don't think Eric Schmidt is part of it. It seems like they're shooting first and then trying to figure out what they're going to do later on. So I'm not sold on it. And my opinion could change once I find out more about it. But right now, my impression is that It's a little more than getting publicity and trying to position Zuckerberg as an adult. That's what this looks like to me right now.
Interesting. Cyan, what do you think of the immigration issue overall, and any thoughts on this one in particular?
Well, to comment on what he just said, I think any and all discussions about this are good, even if they are blowing smoke and they're just, shooting at the hip and just getting started out. I think that's fine, because I think this is a serious issue that needs to be resolved. And maybe this will get the immigration issue on the radar. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, I would really like to see change. I would like to see anyone who wants to come to this country, who wants to be a productive part of this country, to be able to come here. And so something has to change.
Yeah, and Vivek, is the issue here that, it seems two questions. One is the issue of why there's resistance, that people believe that if we give these jobs to foreigners, it would take away jobs of people here. And number two, does the Republicans losing 2 elections to Obama and immigration and the shift in demographics a big reason why this could actually change this time?
Right. So the battle lines are really drawn over the undocumented, unskilled workers. There's no doubt about the fact that we have to resolve that issue. We have to do something for these poor people who are here, who are hardworking, who may have entered illegally, but the fact is that they did it for their families, for their children, and so on. So I'm highly sympathetic to them. The problem is, there's a trick over here. Everyone keeps talking about pathway to citizenship. The battle is being fought over that, because when you cut through all of the noise, what happens when they get citizenship? They can vote. Who are they going to vote for? For Democrats. So we're not publicly admitting this. This is what lies beneath the surface. The Republicans are worried about a major shift of the entire political spectrum over the next 10, 20 years to the Democrats because of it. That's why they talk about chain migration. That's also a code name for the fact that, look, these 10 million, if we legalize them, they're going to vote Democrats. Then they're going to bring in 30 or 40 more million friends and relatives, not relatives, close family members, and that's going to shift the balance of America to the Democrat side. That's what's really behind it. No one says it in black and white like I'm saying it, but that's what's behind it. And this is why I've said that, first of all, we do have to address this issue about the unskilled, undocumented workers. We have got to legalize them. We've got to give them green cards. I know many people like that. And all they want is their dignity. They want to be able to work. They want to be able to go home and visit their families. They want to be able to pay taxes. They want the same rights that permanent residents of America have.
And we have to address that issue, as well as, in order to address the high skilled workers, the STEM graduate degree people, you have to do also the people working at farms.
Yeah, so with those people, I have not heard anyone demanding this pathway to citizenship, and that's where this is getting hung up, because the Republicans will not let this pass. They're calling it amnesty. They're coming up with every rhetoric they can come up with to stop it because of that one issue of pathway to citizenship. This is what I've been saying, that let's agree that we need to legalize these people. We need to give them their dignity and give them the rights to go back and so on. But let's leave the citizenship aside for 5 or 10 years while America changes, because America is evolving. We're becoming more open. We're being more accepting. And I don't think Americans want to hold anyone back. So if we fix that, the undocumented worker issue would get resolved. It comes to skilled. Skilled, the vast majority of Americans agree that we want people in Silicon Valley to create jobs for us, to boost the economy, to come up with new innovations and make America more competitive. No argument about that.
Yep.
The issue is about these unemployed, middle-aged computer programmers who were making $150,000 a year as contractors. Now they're only making $70,000 a year, or they're unemployed. They're typically middle-aged, their skills are out of date, and they're saying that these foreigners are taking our jobs away. Look at the H-1Bs that are coming in. They all tend to be young. Therefore, they're taking our jobs away.
So this is another wrinkle to this issue, which is the people who are concerned are the 50-year-old developers who still have 15 years or 20 years left to work, but they're getting disintermediated by people who know how to use the LAMP stack as opposed to VAX or, some Windows, database, last paradigm.
That's a harder issue. This is something we don't talk about openly in Silicon Valley, but the issue is that companies would rather hire younger workers who have the current skills out of college, who work day and night, versus older workers whose skills are out of date, who expect to make higher salaries. That's what it boils down to. And the question is, can you force companies to hire the older workers and pay them twice or thrice the salaries. This is America. You can't do it. We're not admitting that, and that's what's holding the skilled immigration issue back, because those people are very upset. They're very bitter that they've lost their ability to earn high salaries or even to work. So this is at the heart of the skilled immigration debate.
Well, listen, it's great that the debate is continuing, and it's great that the Republicans lost 2 elections, so that not that I'm a libertarian and I don't affiliate with either party officially, but
they deserve to get their butts kicked over their.
I do think it's great if it does push the issue forward. And you actually worked in this space for a long time.
I did, and what people don't realize is that there's 2 ways to do this, which is the comprehensive approach, like we're going to have to do everything at one time, and then there's the piecemeal approach. And there are people who strongly favor one over the other, who think that you can't succeed if you try and do it all at the same time. The people, because you're going to give up too much, and then the people who say, well, if we do it this piecemeal, then this other stuff is never going to get resolved. So
gridlock.
And 6 years ago, we came pretty close, and it's always going to take a bipartisan effort. If Republicans are that worried about losing elections and they can't do the right thing for America and what is traditionally American, that's actually really sad.
Yeah, let's do the Google Glass story.
All right. So we know that
Number
Google
5,
Glass is coming out soon. Some people have already been able to experiment with them. But now we have a group of investors who said we're going to invest in anybody who's making stuff for Google Glass. And that includes Google Ventures, not surprisingly, Kleiner Perkins and Andreessen Horowitz. They're looking for services and hardware applications, specifically consumer enterprise innovations with widespread reach, basically looking at anything. They are using a same approach that Kleiner Perkins did with its iFund. It teamed with Apple back in 2008. Originally a $100 million fund became a $200 million fund when the iPad came out. And they've had some interesting apps they've invested in you probably heard of, like Shazam, Flipboard, Path, Spotify, Twitter, Square, Zarly. And John Doerr said specifically that they were teaming up with their old friends because he'd invested in Mark back in the Netscape days and in Google back in '99. So, can these heavyweights corner the market for Google Glass-related startups? And are there other VCs you think that could work together like this?
Hey, Cyan, have you had any pitches for Google Glass-related startups yet on the street level?
Absolutely none. I haven't had one. I haven't even tried the glasses on yet. I saw them in the wild at TED. Everyone from Google had them on. So I actually haven't given them a go, and I haven't received any pitches whatsoever.
Yeah, this seems.
If anybody's working on this, I don't know about it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those very early things. I think it's smart, though. I am actually thinking about it with the Inside.com project I'm currently working on, which will launch probably in September, of like, gee, wow, that could be a really good platform for the stuff we're building there, and you're aware of it, and you've seen some of the prototypes. So I'm fascinated with it. I do think that these special funds are kind of a cool way to do this, to get excitement and to get people thinking like, oh, because that you're going to at least get 3 meetings, right? Like, that's what I love about these kind of things in terms of just optics. They're easy to do because if you don't see anything you like, none of the VCs don't have to address it. And you know what? 5 other VCs could say, we have a glass fund now, and never make a glass investment. They could just say, we have a glass fund. We're going to try to, we've earmarked $50 million for glass investments. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So it's a very savvy move on those 3 venture capitalists' part, because now they've taken the pole position on when somebody types in Google Glass Venture Capital, they're going to at least go see Andreessen Horowitz, Kleiner Perkins, and
Google Ventures.
And Google Ventures, right?
So, this Google Glass is more disruptive than anyone realizes. I got an email today from David Roberts, who heads up our graduate studies program at Singularity University. One of the students coming in the summer has Google Glasses on. Now, look at what happens over here. Suddenly, everything which happens in the class is being recorded, including the lectures. So what are the privacy issues? What are the legal issues over here? We don't stream our lectures openly, but it's all being recorded. Who owns the content that's recorded on these devices? Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing the type of things that are going to happen. This is amazing technology, disruptive. It's going to change the world, but it's also now going to blow up on the issue of privacy, because now you have the same event being recorded by different people, different perspectives. This, he said, she said, this, did he rape me or did he not rape me? All of these issues suddenly now become recorded. And it's going to transform the way we pass judgment on people and record history.
Yeah, we did have this issue occur, actually, with conferences and events. Because conferences and events, people don't remember, used to have no recordings, right? So we did all these events in the Silicon Valley Reporter days. Nobody has those tapes. I mean, I have them in a storage locker, but most people didn't record conferences, certainly not the audience. And if you did, you had to get a permit from the conference producer, and the conference producer would say no or yes, or give you like some constraint. Now, people are taking out their phones and hitting record. And regularly, people will go to lectures and just hit record on their laptop and nobody knows.
Sure.
Or on their phone. And so conferences, which used to be largely off the record, people's behavior at conferences, like specifically the sexism issues and stuff like that, like people have become much more aware of like, hey, when you say something in public, it is truly public. So this, I think, continues that trend. And we had to... I remember Steve Jobs with the live streaming. Steve Jobs was very upset about people live streaming his keynotes. Now, of course, anybody can watch the live stream, so people adapted very quickly to it. But he specifically was kicking people out based on them doing that streaming with Ustream or Quick on their phones or on their laptops. I know because Engadget had this issue. We would be listening in, 10 of us would be listening in. This is before Ustream. We would set up our own real networks or stuff on the covert, on the DL, a real network streaming server on a laptop, and stream it to just the people in the office, and so they could transcribe or just leave your phone open. Right, and so it's a major issue, but I think we work through it. Would you think, Cyan, that this is going to be an opportunity in terms of investment, or do you think it's a little bit hyped up?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's going to be some really interesting applications. I was really intrigued by some of the gaming opportunities for doing real-time, real-life gaming, but I also do think it's a lot of hype. And I'm not sure how many people will actually buy these devices. But I'm actually really interested in some of the things that were just brought up, like, what are the implications when you go through the TSA? If you get pulled over by a police officer, are they going to demand that you take off your glasses? And I assume that these glasses at some point will be integrated into glasses you actually have to see with. And so it's really, really interesting and fascinating from a privacy perspective. And we certainly have not thought it completely through, the long-term implications of this technology. The future kind of came pretty fast at us, and it's here. But I do think it is a lot of hype at this point.
Yeah.
So this is version 1.0. Wait until we have version 3.0 of it, and wait till you have retina implants which can display the screens to you. You won't even know it's being recorded. The cameras are getting smaller and smaller. They'll be on your shirt collar or just a pin or something. You won't even know what's happening here. It's the end of privacy. That's essentially where we are at right now.
That's really interesting. There's this little tiny camera called the life blogging camera called Memento, MEMOTO. It's on my screen right now, and they're sending me one of these. And I've wanted one of these for a long time. What it does is it takes a picture every 5 seconds. And so I just thought, wow, when I go to Disneyland with London, and basically when you have a kid, everything you look at in technology goes through the eyes of your child. But I would love to put one of these on my daughter, one of them on myself, and go to Disneyland for the day and record it. And then you have this great little every 30 seconds a photo of the entire day.
Right,
how awesome is that?
People's backsides because you're standing in line.
Well, of course, that's going to be the boring part, but you might capture this amazing moment where, she's got the best joyous smile ever that I would never have picked up. So, there's benefits and there's cost to all this. I do think we don't know what the killer use case is going to be, and it's going to be way too expensive for now. So I do think that this is going to be something that hits like 3 years from now, which means it's a pretty good time to get into it, actually. And so I'm fascinated by it. I think it's going to be huge. I don't think they're stupid. I think that they're going to be huge because this continuous partial attention concept that Linda Stone came up with it's a very interesting psychological phenomenon. I am talking to you, we're engaged in a conversation, but I'm looking at my phone at the same time, and is that rude or not? And now that is considered not rude. You go out to dinner, somebody takes out their phone, they're doing a tweet, and they're talking to you. It's not considered rude. It used to be if you took out your phone, everybody look at you and say, I'll continue talking when you put your phone away. When you look at millennials or people under the age of 20, people just continue the conversation. There's no problem with taking your phone out and doing a tweet or stopping, paying attention, or looking somebody in the eye while you're talking. So this is going to just take that to the next level. And with cops, that's a really great insight of Cyan's. There was a guy who got pulled over on his motorcycle as part of a motorcycle rally, and he had the GoPro cam in plain sight on his helmet, and the cop's giving him a hard time. And if you go on YouTube and you just type in police stop, a lot of people now are taking their iPhones, hitting record when they get pulled over by a cop, and putting it in their cup holder. Cop doesn't know they're being recorded. And this one cop pulled over a German couple. German pulled over by cops. I'll pull it up while we talk, but yeah, here it is. German owner drives speeding. And this is great for America, I think, because now we're going to start to understand, like exactly when people tell these stories about cops, if it's true or not.
It's a rental car. Registration and rental agreement.
So check this out.
That's the rental agreement? Where are you from? Germany. Do you know what the speed limit is here, you Germany boy?
I didn't really get it yet.
Then why are you driving in my country? Why are you driving if you're not paying attention to the speed limit?
Is it 70?
It's 70 miles an hour. Then why are you going 98?
I was just following another.
Don't follow any other cars. And let me give you a little hint. You weren't following nobody.
Okay.
I was right in front of you. You were leading the pack. This ain't the Autobahn. You understand that?
I get that, sir.
You know what happens to nice little boys like you that have to go to jail for reckless driving?
Wait for it.
Ass to be hurting for a month.
Okay, I
All right.
Whoa.
That's subtle.
Wow.
I suggest you slow down and do 70, or you will get violated.
I thought African Americans and Asians had it bad. This is ridiculous.
Well,
Right,
because
but
he's
I
a
mean-
foreigner, damn foreigner in my country.
It's like, wow, like this is really like, but I think in a way this is great for everybody because now the behavior level is going to change because this cop's going to get fired or reprimanded and this keeps happening. Everybody's going to have to start behaving
Sure,
themselves.
that's already been happening for
Well,
a
yeah.
while.
Okay,
I
Cyan.
think it'll have some really great implications and some really bad implications. So I think, we are in a culture of oversharing, and there's a lot of instances that are starting to surface up, some that we talked about earlier, where people share things and it reaches a wider, broader audience, and maybe that's not what they intended. The government can use this information as well, depending on where you uploaded it to. And so, yeah, it's going to help in some of these cases, but it's also going to hurt us in a lot of other cases.
Vivek?
I think this is what the future is, and it's a good thing. It's good to expose all this because, I mean, again, it's interesting to see a white German going through this because African Americans go through this abuse all the time, over and over and over again, and they live with this thing. People would die, even Asian Americans live with this type of discrimination. It's great to start exposing it and holding people accountable because that's what's going to transform society, knowing that you can't get away with bad behavior anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Vivek that it's great that the Germans are finally getting it stuck to them. I mean, no, it is. I tell you something. When you white guy commenting, I'm going to white-splain something now. I'm going to white mansplain something. I had no idea about Asian discrimination. And I assumed that that was a very soft issue until I married an Asian. And I watched people just outwardly be incredibly rude to Jade.
Because?
She's Asian.
So what would they do?
Just somebody would be very curt with her or not helpful at the desk at a rental car, one time, or at a getting a ticket, she would ask for something, and it just they were a little bit upset at her. I don't know exactly why, but it just seemed like a little bit of hostility towards her.
Did she get the oh, you're an Asian woman, so you must be a bad driver kind of?
Not that. I mean,
No.
that's just cliche stuff.
Right.
But just I could tell the tone was. And then when I would walk up to the counter and say, "Hey, can we get this worked out, please?" We were in France, and Jade was like, "Okay, well, we're Premier members. We get an automatic upgrade or whatever." And the woman was like, "Yeah, you don't get anything here." And we just very mean to her. And I said, "Excuse me." I came into that. I said, "Actually, I've stayed at 50 Starwoods around the world. I'm one of your top people. I have 100,000 Twitter followers, and I would like you to apologize to my wife for being so rude to her. And if she tells you we're a platinum member, you should look on the computer and check that we are a platinum member. And if you don't have the upgrade, it's fine. But I just don't like the way you're talking to her." And she's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, sir. I just was trying to explain." They back down immediately. White guy comes up to the desk, different story.
Or just as the French are rude and they treat all foreigners like that.
Well, yeah.
Or they could have been intimidated by her beauty.
That is a big part of it as well, actually. Then they were just very confused. They're like, "What is this 10 doing with a 6? Jesus." All right, listen. I have something very important to tell people about. and that is My Turnstone. My Turnstone, My Turnstone. These are the desks that Jason Calacanis uses here at Inside.com. And look at these gorgeous desks. They're very affordable. I couldn't believe when they told me the price of these desks were like $500 a workstation or something super affordable. And I was like, my God, that's incredible. And morale went way up when we had beautiful new furniture and people love the big desks and all the little accoutrement that go with them. It is an absolute morale booster to have beautiful, great desks. You sit at them for 10 hours a day. So if you take the cost of one of these things and you put it over 4 or 5 years, you're talking about pennies a day, and even fractions of that when you talk about compared to having like desks that are made out of metal, which is what I've done for my whole career, is buy $150 metal desks. I'll never do that again. I love these Turnstone desks, and we use them here at Lunch and Inside. You see how beautiful they are. Go to myturnstone.com/twist and get 10% off your first order, and that's kind of a big deal, getting 10% off, because this is not like 10% off software. It's 10% off our hardware.
Real stuff.
It's real stuff. And so go to myturnstone.com/TWIST, and bonus offer, first 3 people to order My Turnstone for their offices and send us a picture at team@launch.co wins lunch with me. Hey, whoa, what? Am I really doing that? No, I came up with that idea for a contest. All right, here's a great contest. Yes. First 3 people to order My Turnstone for their office and send us a picture at team@launch.co. Just send us a picture of that or tweet it. You'll win lunch with me. And I'll pay for the lunch. But
this is going to be a nice lunch.
It's going to be a good lunch. It's going to be a good lunch. I may take you as a group to lunch, but yeah. So go buy some My Turnstone. You'll love it. Thank you for supporting the program. And everybody say thank you at My Turnstone. All right, everybody's done. Everybody did that now? Let's get the next story. How about Foursquare?
All right, so Foursquare came out with a new version of its iOS app this week. It's highlighting the local search function instead of just, checking in somewhere. And Dennis Crowley also came out with a post about, they have 1.3 million plus businesses using it. 33 million have, and I thought this was interesting phrasing, given it a try. So that doesn't mean they're regular users, but at least I guess have downloaded the app. Yeah, 33 million app downloads is probably what 33 million have given it a try means. Exactly. But they have 10 million monthly active uniques. So is what I've read. Okay, so they're they're doing decently. Now they also have a $41 million raise, but it's not equity; it was convertible debt. Yep. And Fred Wilson came out and said that was the optimal solution for everyone because it doesn't dilute things for the management. They get as investors the comfort of knowing that eventually our investment will become equity and we will not have to price it. That's actually what he said. Now Foursquare claims they're doing for real world business search what Google did for internet search. So, are you impressed with Foursquare's progress? And who should be more scared of where they're going, Yelp or Google? I love Foursquare now. I've started using it again, and boy, have they really much better on a product basis. Like they have reached the Gowalla beauty, and I was an investor in Gowalla, and so I'm kind of bummed that they're not around anymore. But they've reached this level of beauty and functionality and editorial that when I look at Yelp and I look at Foursquare, I feel like Yelp has got better reviews historically, but I feel like Foursquare has fresher stuff and a better UI right now. So I feel like they're neck and neck, and they are contemporaries, which is why Keith Rabois was, so brutal to Foursquare and his Twitter because he's on the board of Yelp. Right. So it's a pretty good dogfight. Cyan, explain to us why the convertible debt thing happened, do you think? And is it a good thing for management, as Fred Wilson is saying?
I don't know that I could explain this. I unfortunately didn't do a lot of research into this. However, I'm the last person to ask questions about Foursquare because I'm probably not one of their biggest fans. So I haven't used the app since it launched, and I don't think I'll use it again.
Why is that? So, just no value for you? Checking in the concept is you want privacy?
I want privacy, and it's so hard to get, as we all said, privacy is dead. I fight for any shred of privacy I can possibly have, and I found it to be really kind of concerning that I was giving away information about my eating habits, shopping habits, where I was going, and basically giving it to an entity that I wasn't sure how responsible they'd be with it. And so that's just something I'm against, and so I don't use it. I also had a really bad experience where I checked in someplace, and I have only my friends that I've approved, but one of my friends told somebody I was at this place, and then someone showed up at my table. Wow. And started talking to me, and he said, yeah, I heard you were here. I just thought I'd come by and pitch you on my startup. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
We can't have that.
I was done.
Yeah, that is concerning. Vivek,
as far as I can't really give him much more information on that because I don't really have a strong opinion. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, but I do think that's a great jumping off point. Kieran, you use Foursquare?
I use it, only on the off chance that I'm actually doing something interesting.
Right. So you use it sparingly.
Sparingly, but I do like to have it as a record of when I was last at something. Or like where was that little, cafe? I don't remember the name of it.
Got it. So if you go to another country or another city and you check in, you can be like, oh, what pizzeria did Jason take us to when we were in
Or
San
for
Francisco?
myself, what was the name of that little cafe I went to when I was in San Francisco last time?
Got it. And so do you have privacy concerns about it, especially as a woman, and as somebody who's high profile now as a journalist, and people want to come pitch you or something like that? Does it?
I have very few friends on Foursquare and been very careful about that.
Do you tweet it and Facebook it and make it public sometimes?
I will sometimes tweet it, but I usually do what you do.
On the way out.
On the way out.
Yeah, see, I'm an on the way out kind of guy. Because I have had people show up and
I'm sure you
it
have.
gets a little bit weird. But you know what? I'm also like 6'3" black belt in Taekwondo, and I have a firearm, and if anybody really wants to bring it, I'm not that worried about it. You know what I'm saying? I've had stalkers show up at the office.
Right.
At your own peril, please. No,
I don't.
But I do think it's something
everything.
serious.
And I think that the whole mayor concept is probably on its way out as well.
That makes no sense. Yeah.
Because who gives a crap if you've checked in a place 50 times?
It's I think the reviews and the tips, which is the direction Gowalla was going in before they couldn't keep it going, which I'm really sad about, because Gowalla had some of the most beautiful stuff for the merchants in terms of knowing who's at your place and giving them special offers and building deep relationships. Sure. I think that's the big part of it.
Yep.
And what Foursquare needs to do is add the Square features and do a POS, point of service, and maybe just get into full service of the establishment as opposed to just this light check-in thing. Vivek, do you use it, and what do you think?
I've never been a fan, and I went on the record 2 or 3 years ago saying that it's going to go bust, it's overhyped, but there are valid applications for it like you're talking about. So I hope they listen to you, bottom line.
Yeah, I think they're going to do fine. I think there's a little bit of a thing where people are piling on, a little bit beating up on them, because they've raised so much money and they don't have a business yet. So someone like David Hanmeyer Hansen would be like, this is not a real business. Da, da, da. But in fairness to them, what happens with people want to understand what's happening with convertible debt. So here's what happens. The last round they did like $600 million. Now
that was the valuation.
That was the valuation. Now this whole category is absolutely foobarred. Nobody wants to be involved in it, right? Nobody sees the check-in as important. So that leaves the entrepreneur in a really dangerous place, which is I raised here, and now people think the business is worth $200 million. So now there's a $400 million gap. I made the number 200 up, but the $600 million number, I'm pretty sure, is confirmed in the press. Yep. So what does the entrepreneur do when they raise the next round? Do they cram down and lower the valuation, or do they say, give us the money, we'll give you interest on your money, and we'll give you a discount of 10 or 20% or none, who knows, on the next round? So what they're saying is we can fill in that gap with that $41 million. Now, we don't know. Maybe they're only burning $1 million a month. So if they're losing just $1 million a month, that's 40 months to fill in $400 million in value. They could very conceivably do that.
Sure.
So it makes it a good risk. But there's so much hating going on about the entrepreneurs when they struggle, and I kind of think the opposite needs to be done. When you're struggling like that, I'm rooting for them. I think
you're rooting for Dennis.
I am so rooting for Dennis because he loves what he does so much. And it's so obvious that he does. And he's sticking with it. And I love that he's sticking with it. And he's fighting through the dark times. And you know what? I had the same thing happen at Mahalo. We were at a peak. We were at a $100 million valuation. Panda update hits. Revenue goes down. Oh, my God. Now we're out of favor. And you know what? Fight through it. I have the money in the bank. Inside.com becomes a huge hit. And then you fill it in. But you have to be able to fight through these things as entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneurs and founders, who are watching this and seeing him, great respect for Dennis. Great respect for Dennis. I really want to have him on the program when I'm in New York next. He's one of the few people I've really wanted to have on the program because he figured out his founder product match. He has been in this check-in space, dodgeball, Foursquare, and he will be in it 20 years from now. He's a lifer. He knows that location matters. And to get 1 million customers local is very hard. I am 100% certain he figures it out, and I am 100% certain the company goes public and does well or has a big exit. 100% certain. Next story.
All right. Well, since we're talking about struggling entrepreneurs, I think AppGratis...
But I could be wrong. What does me being 100% certain even mean?
Sure. I think, if we're talking about struggling entrepreneurs, it's good to talk about AppGratis being pulled from the App Store. This was an app that recently raised just over $13 million. The whole concept, of course, was that, you could find out about interesting apps and get early access to them. And the AppGratis CEO founder, Simon DeWalt, he didn't know what was going on. He'd been on a plane for 12 hours flying to Rio, and he gets off the plane and he's got all these voicemails and messages, and he's just flipping out, like what could have gone wrong in the 12 hours I was on a plane. And he finds out it's that Apple's pulled their app. And, the Apple is now citing the rules 2.25 and 5.6. Apps that display apps other than your own for purchase or promotion in a manner similar to or confusing with the App Store will be rejected. The 5.6 rule, apps cannot use push notifications to send advertising promotions or direct marketing of any kind. Now, in December, App Shopper was removed for violating Rule 2.25. Sources have told All Things D that Apple is planning more enforcement of these rules because the apps allegedly threaten the legitimacy of the App Store and undermine its integrity. So
why? Why does it undermine? I mean, I think I know the answer, but is it specified?
It doesn't specify.
I think the reason they feel this does that is because if you are on AppGratis or App Shopper, they're so popular that if they send a note to 100,000 people that the app is free today, because that's what these do, they make the app free today, then you become number one in the store.
Right. So it's messing with their chart system.
Right. But that is BS. Apple's 100% wrong on this. Cyan, what do you think? Are you an investor in either company?
No, I'm not. And I think this is incredibly sad. And this is actually sad as an investor as well, because I get pitched on a lot of really interesting apps, and I pass on a lot of them for this very reason, because Facebook and Apple, they're gatekeepers towards these applications and these companies that invest a lot of money and time in building these wonderful products only to become successful a couple of years later and then be shut down. And I think it's incredibly tragic that this happens, and I've seen it happen to many of my investments as well as other people's investments. And I just think it's just a shame. If customers are using this and other applications are using this and it's popular among their users, then why would they do this? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It's so short-sighted on Apple's part as well, because what they're doing by doing this is driving innovation into the Android App Store or BlackBerry, or Microsoft's. Because app discovery sucks, and it's almost like Apple can't figure out app discovery, so then they try to screw the people who are figuring it out.
Exactly.
Okay, the reason why these things even exist is because you suck at it, Apple, and you should be happy that investors and startups and founders are trying to fix your goddamn ecosystem instead of driving them out. And this will drive...
Well, here's the problem. People are not going to want to fix their ecosystem anymore, and we're not going to put any more money or effort, or businesses are going to really, really second guess, whether or not they should be putting any time or money or effort into them anymore. So I think this is a huge mistake.
This would be the same as Microsoft saying, we're not going to allow you to make a new word processor or a spreadsheet for Windows because we feel like it inhibits the integrity of Microsoft Word and Excel for you to have a conflicting thing. Or we feel the Chrome browser or the Firefox or Mozilla browser or the Opera browser, the integrity of the Internet Explorer has been diminished. I mean, just because you say it in a fancy way, Apple, does not mean it's true. This is Apple at its worst. This is abhorrent, and it's heavy-handed, and Apple should be ashamed of themselves. Vivek, what do you think?
Apple will lose power, as they're already doing. They're abusing their privileges over here. They're pushing people towards Android. And it's to the point that, I'm thinking of switching over to Samsung for the first time. Those new phones I keep seeing people use seem pretty cool. They're bigger, it's slicker, and then it's Android, which is a lot more open than Apple's operating system is. So this Apple fanboy may well switch over the next few months if the next iPhone isn't spectacularly better than what I have right now.
I don't think I don't think any smartphone will ever be called spectacular again, because they've all reached parity.
It's just incremental.
It's incremental. We're 90% of the way there. I mean, if you look at what's coming out of Samsung, they put a processor that's twice as fast as the one in the iPhone 5. I played with the BlackBerry Z10. It's incredible. It got a better hand feel. And then you look at the HTC just came out. Peter Rojas said the new HTC is the best handset ever made. Whether the operating system is better, people will debate. But we're in single-digit percentages in terms of how different iOS, BlackBerry, and Android, and Microsoft's mobile operating systems are. It's like 15% or less. And in some cases, maybe 6 or 7%. Which means if the hardware is getting better from people outside of Apple better come out with that goddamn TV and wristwatch very soon, because there is no innovation. They're not going to win it on the iPhone smartphone anymore, and that's the big win. So, anyway,
we should be seeing the Apple glass, and we should be seeing the Apple projector. They should be taking into getting Leap Motion into their laptops. All of these advances that other people are doing, we should be seeing an entire generation of Apple products coming out with these, yet we keep getting more of the same. So now the iPad with our Retina, wow, big deal. So we're seeing too much of more of the same from Apple, and unless they really get their act together soon, they're going to go the way of RIM, sadly. That's what's happening with Apple. Not enough innovation coming out of it.
All right, let's do another story.
All right. Well, you always like to talk about Yahoo, Jason.
Yeah, I
So
love Yahoo.
There's
Sure.
two interesting stories. One was the New York Times doing kind of a nice overview of Marissa's startup acquisition strategy. Certain entrepreneurs quoted in there, one who had met with Yahoo just after Marissa started, and he said they would have to be willing to pay me twice what anyone else was willing to pay to work there.
He's an entrepreneur off the record.
Yes, he was unnamed, but on the record.
I'm going to go on the record as saying if Yahoo pays me 26% more than Google, I'm willing to sell to them. I'm just going to go on the record there. It's exactly 20. It's the Yahoo discount is the Yahoo premium is 26%. No, it's so stupid when an entrepreneur says they got to pay me twice as much. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
Your job as the entrepreneur is to get maximum value for your shareholders and yourself.
Right. Well, also,
you're telling me you would sell the converse of that is I would sell for 50% on the dollar to somebody else, and that entrepreneur didn't put himself on the record because he's would know how stupid that sounds.
Well, and he was also not impressed that they hadn't done their due diligence and they didn't really know who he was and stuff like that when he came in to pitch them. That's very different from the experience you had going into Google and Facebook. And also...
that's okay, that is different.
Right.
So they were not prepared.
They were not prepared. And so, it just doesn't give you a good feeling. And then...
That's lame. You want to be courted as an entrepreneur.
And also in this article was that...
Right, so he's insulted.
Yes, and the Yelp folks, the reason they turned down an offer from Yahoo was because nobody from Yelp wanted to work there.
Oh, that was Google.
No, Yelp was actually this article talks about Yelp getting an offer from Yahoo.
Again? Like when the
this was a couple of years ago.
Oh, no, I think what they're talking about is Marissa tried to buy Yelp when she was at Google, because that was on the record. And Yelp passed on, and that was like the animosity between Yahoo and, there was animosity between Marissa, I think, and Google over that. But I don't know. We'll go read the story anyway. Getting to the point.
So the point is that, Marissa's obviously trying to show that she cares more about developers, having revamped the Flickr app. Back in the day, Delicious founders say that they, had to spend all this time just trying to get the extra servers they needed for the product to work properly. Yeah. And Katerina goes on the record saying they do care about the developers now, which was less true than when we were there. So, is Marissa really on the right track here? And, are you impressed with what she's bought so far? So,
Cyan, I'm going to have you answer that. Stamped, the mobile recommendation service, On the Air, the online video service, Snippet, the clipping service, Propelled, location-based apps, and Jibe, social recommendation apps, and also... Sumly. What do you think, Cyan? You like her, quick $100 million portfolio, $10 to $25 million at a time of mobile apps?
Well, so On the Air is one of my investments, by the way. And I haven't heard yet whether they like it there or not. But I actually think that Yahoo keeps sort of playing in these marketplaces where, it's a winner-take-all market. And, they keep coming in number 3, number 4, number 5. I'm sort of the Jack Welch, you need to be number 1 or number 2 in a space. And so I think that they're actually buying the wrong products. I think they should be buying companies like Zynga and getting into mobile gaming, and that's where they could become a major player. I think they could become the largest mobile game studio in the world. They could get into gambling. There's so much more interesting things they could do that, neither Microsoft or, I believe Google are actually investing heavily in that space, and they could become number 1. So why aren't they focusing on things where they could become number 1 in the marketplace rather than trying to be, competing with people who are clearly winning? So that's the part that I have a problem with. Yeah,
I think Marissa, it's a fair point, has not stated... she did state our overarching mission is, your daily habits. Okay, I like that. But I think she should have just said full bore, like content sharing or content or mobile or gaming communications and this. Like, it's going to be news, it's going to be games, and it's going to be communication, which is email, instant message, whatever. And we're going to own those 3. We're going to be number 1 or number 2 in those. Our email client's going to be the best. Our mobile gaming and our gaming and casual gaming is going to be the best. Because they used to be the leader in casual gaming, like far and away. If you wanted to play backgammon or chess, you went there. So, but
I think they should go back to that.
Yeah, I think, and then there's also, as I talked to a Yahoo insider, and they said she is, I talked to a Yahoo Insider recently in the last week, and they said that she is looking at the minutia of the user experience and told this one executive, what is the like really wow moment when they use this specific product and what is absolutely unique that you can't get anywhere else in the world? Like she's obsessing about trying to find this incredible wow moment, this like almost like David Sachs would say, that little hook, the hook of a behavior. What is that behavioral hook that people are just addicted to and it's very unique, which may be an interesting cultural thing to have everybody vibe inside the organization, so I get it. But as Cyan is saying, if you're number 1 or 2 in mail and number 1 or 2 or 3 in news or Yahoo Finance, like why is she not leaning into those and quadrupling down and getting to number 1? Like make Yahoo Finance number 1, make it the next CNBC. Okay, mail, they're number 2. Like how can they make it number 1? Can they offer 50 gigs of storage like Dropbox and just absolutely crush it? If they're number 5 in photo sharing, do they give up or do they go right to number 1? It's a little bit more, but maybe she's going to reveal that. Maybe she just wants to get more people on the bus, right, and then she picks the direction of the bus. But she's getting a lot of great teams.
Well, and I think what that article showed is that there's still some reticence on the part of entrepreneurs to sell to Yahoo. They're not convinced yet.
If you love your product, the jury is out whether they will kill it or not.
Yeah.
That, I guess, is the issue. And so who has the best track record for not killing innovative products, I guess, is the question. And I think that's what Google and Microsoft and Apple are all trying to do. Like, can we buy these things and keep them? I mean, in Apple's case, they're like, yeah, we're going to shut it down, but it's going to be incorporated into something huge. Vivek, what do you think? Yahoo winning, losing, or yet to be determined?
I think we need to give Marissa more time. She's only been there for a short while, and she's inherited a complete mess. So let her clean it up. She seems to be doing many of the right things. I would not advise her to buy Zynga and get into online gaming. That's selling her soul and demolishing the company that she built. I mean, the next thing, what do you do next? Get into online porn? I mean, you have to maintain, the family values of the company at least, and not sell your soul in desperation. So I think I would give her another 6 months before I pass any negative judgment on her.
I'm trying to figure out when she actually started at Yahoo. So when we talked
in July.
It was in July of last year.
Mid-July, yep.
So we're coming on a year now. And
no, still 3 months away. She's
3 months away.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of, I do like the gaming. I don't know if I like the gambling thing yet, but I'm fine with gambling. I don't have a moral issue with that, obviously. I don't know if that's the best thing for her, but I do think the casual stuff she could really, really, really clean up in because, God, casual gaming and, they have an older demographic and those folks, whether it's male or female, like 40, 50, 60-year-old guys like to play poker online. 40, 50, 60-year-old women like to play Zynga or games and other
fantasy sports or whatever.
And then there's fantasy sports for 30, 40, 50-year-old guys. Like, man, that's just a rich place. So I think she's going to do just fine. I think year 2 is when you're going to, Oh, here's a funny one. She stated her priorities being God, family, and Yahoo in that order.
Whose famous quote was that? Was the football coach who said it was like
God, team, whatever. I don't know who winning. All right, last story. Let's do the last story here.
All right, so
no Bitcoin story.
I mean, we talked about Bitcoin last week. We can talk about Bitcoin now if you want.
No, that's okay. What's the most interesting story?
I think you're a fan of Google Fiber, so we should talk
do Google
about
Fiber. Yeah,
Google
Fiber as I predicted. Google Fiber is not an experiment; it's a takeover plan. And was I vindicated this week?
Well, they're coming to Austin by mid 2014.
Vindication.
Let's bring them to Silicon Valley. I want Google Fiber here in Silicon Valley.
It is the most sought after. Which would you rather have? Here's a test. Vivek, if you could have this tonight, would you rather have a self-driving car from Google, Google Glass, or Google Fiber?
I want the self-driving car and Google Fiber powering it.
Oh, no. You're not playing the game properly, Vivek. I want you to give me an order. What you want, 1, 2, and 3. Number 3 is clearly...
Okay, I want the self-driving car because that would free up so much time. It would make me so much more productive.
And then number 2?
Right now. What's that?
Number 2 is?
Number 2 is the internet, Google Fiber.
Fiber, and number 3 would be Glass. Cyan, self-driving car, Fiber, or Glass?
Glass.
Glass, number 1. Okay, number 2?
Fiber.
Okay, and so that means number 3 is a self-driving car because she lives in the city. She
doesn't need the
Uber.
Car. Yeah.
Okay, Karen?
Yeah, Uber. I don't need a self-driving car.
Exactly. Karen? Number 1 at home,
I think for me it would be the Fiber.
Okay, number 2?
Would be the Glass.
Number 3?
The car.
All right. For me, I say fiber. Fiber all day. Number 2, this would be a little shocking for people. I want the self-driving cars, but not for myself. I want it for everybody else, because then it will free up the road for me to drive in my Tesla even faster. No, I would like the self-driving car number 2, because I would like to watch the Knick game on the way home. It'd be fantastic for me. Just put the dashboard to the Knick game. And then number 3, I'll take Google Glass, because I don't know how transformative. But this is a takeover plan for them, and there's 70 million homes in the United States, and the estimate was it would only cost them $11 billion to
I don't remember what your estimate was.
My estimate was, I could do the math here. If let's say it costs $5,000 a home, 5,000 times 5,000 times, let's say 40 million homes is I got to do all the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I think you're looking at a couple billion.
Yeah, hold on. I got to put the zero. I got to put the commas in. Comma.
Jason, while you compute that, do you realize that this could decimate the
200 billion?
Yeah, the cell phone companies, AT&T, Verizon.
Oh God,
T-Mobile,
yes.
And the cable companies.
Why?
We're talking about $1 trillion disruption over here.
And why would it disrupt them? Because the fiber lines would be required to have a Wi-Fi router, a la.
You have Wi-Fi everywhere. You don't need cell anymore. You don't need GPRS. You don't need 3G. You have Wi-Fi everywhere, replacing those connections we have.
At $5,000 a home, it would cost $200 billion, which means they could easily afford to do it. But if it only costs half that, it would be $100 billion. And if it only cost $1,000, it would be even less. So,
well, they are asking people to pay $300 toward the cost of the network.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody goes for that. I mean, even poor people, I think, will pay the $300.
Well, there were some issues in Kansas City last year when they were doing this. You know, that if you looked at where the poor and rich parts of town were, it was pretty clear who was signing up for Google Fiber and who wasn't.
Yeah,
and
but
so
give it time. Once they hear, and if they put them on a payment plan or something,
sure, no,
they
had to do some other things to make it even out a little bit more.
Google is going to accelerate this to 10 cities a year in 2015. My prediction. Am I right or wrong, Vivek?
They're going to do it because ultimately, having everyone on the internet means that they surf the internet more. They use Google apps. They buy Google products, and they connect to their Android phones. Google is going to rule the world the way they're going. I really admire the company for its brilliance over here. But like I said, they're now a threat to the entire mobile industry because they're going to take over the way it's going. If they have fiber everywhere, you have connectivity everywhere, and it's transformative.
All right. Listen, this has been an amazing episode. Thank you, Vivek Wadhwa. Everybody follow Vivek on Twitter at Wadhwa, Wadhwa. Great job. You're in the accelerator. And any plugs? Vivek, any plugs?
You're going to send me one, right?
Any plugs are allowed. Plugs are allowed. Plugs.
Oh, my book, my time out. This is important. My Women in Tech book, my Women in Innovation book. I'm crowdsourcing a book about the opportunities for women, the challenges they faced, and how they can rise beyond it. We're going to be launching an Indiegogo campaign in about 10 days or so, and we're going to be having hundreds, thousands of women writing the book. So this is going to. I really want to create a movement over here, and all the money we raise, every single cent of it, is going to go into educating women on advancing technologies. So I'm doing my bit to help the most important segment of our society out.
That's awesome, and I love the fact that you're taking advantage of women by making them write your book for free. You're leaning into taking advantage of it. No, it's great. I mean, listen, this is, I feel like...
women, by women. I'm just enabling. That's all I am over here.
Cyan, it does feel like we've turned a corner in terms of women in entrepreneurship. It seems to me over the last just 5 or 6 years, a lot more female founders. You feel the same way?
It's just bound to happen. I mean, when I started out in the industry, I sat in companies. I'm an engineer. That's my background. And, I had the bathroom all to myself when there were no women. And now I see all of these women who code, women who are, women Rails groups. There's lines at the bathroom when I go to conferences now. The signs and the indicators are all there that there's definitely more women than there's been in my lifetime so far.
It's fantastic.
But I think we're on a positive trajectory.
It's a great, great thing, and I think it's, everybody's got to do their part. We obviously, Karen, take it very seriously at the Launch Festival and event, and we had that party where we had so many women founders, and we had lines in the women's bathroom. So I think that is your benchmark, everybody. How long is...
How many long?
Yeah, you're doing your job.
You made it.
Yeah,
you're doing your job.
Exactly.
I have a research project that's going to release in summer, which shows the same trend that women are becoming more confident. They're getting mentorship. they're fixing their own problems. So it's all headed in the right direction.
I love
We just
it.
want to accelerate the progress now so that it's a level playing field for everyone.
Well, it's funny. Michael Robertson, who's he's a huge libertarian and counter thinker and very smart. He was like, "There's a huge gap in gender that we need to address," and then you click the link, and it was like women outpacing men, like 6-4 in PhDs and graduate degrees, and women outpacing men like 72 to whatever in workplace jobs or whatever. It's like it's actually now. There's real statistics showing that women are outpacing men in terms
Women
of
are
their
better
job.
educated.
Yeah, and education. So, education, lead indicator of compensation. So now I think we'll see the compensation kept up in some period of time.
Hopefully.
I think so. You get paid as much as the other men here.
I'm older than the other men here. I have more experience. Are you saying my experience isn't worth the same?
We'll talk about this after the show. Well, let's see. Is your experience the same? I don't actually even know how many years you each have, but we'll have to go through that.
I have 16 years of work experience.
Yeah. So if you went into sales, then if you're in sales, I think you get paid a little bit more, but that's just a job function. Editorial gets paid a little bit less, but you actually get paid the same as sales, so that's pretty good.
That's true.
So it evens out, I think. This has been a great episode, and everybody keep doing more and more. It's diversity@launch.co is our email for diversity, right?
Yes.
So we actually have a staff email, diversity@launch.co, that comes to every event we do, everything we touch, whether it's this show, the live events, the newsletter, anything. If you think we can be more diverse, if you think there's people doing great things who deserve recognition, you just email diversity@launch.co, and we are on it. Kieran and I are on it.
I got a comment on launch. I was really impressed that you had so many African Americans there. You had Hispanics over there, and you had women there. So my hat's off to you for focusing on this.
Do you know how we did that?
How's that?
I tweeted, and I gave them free tickets. I just tweeted. We had like 3 people. I mean, really, diversity is a lot of work when it comes down to it. We tweeted. We created the email list, and then we had people go to every single one of these organizations, like Cyan's mentioning, like Women in Rails, whatever, and we said, hey, we have 10 free tickets for you. Apply here. All of a sudden, 75 people apply, and we're like, you know what? Invite all 75 women, or African Americans in tech, or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, we were just like, bring them in.
Bring them in. Just let's make the tent really big and get everybody in here.
I applaud you for doing that.
Cyan, if people want to follow Cyan on Twitter, it's Cyanist, Scientist, CYANTIST @Scientist. Any plugs, Cyan? What's your most recent investment that you love?
Oh gosh.
Top 3, last 3, any 3, whatever. Plugs.
You always ask me this, and I'm always unprepared. I'm always going to plug Postmates.
At Postmates.
Yep, Postmates. They brought me these wonderful headphones in less than an hour because I was unprepared. So,
Love it.
Love them. And I don't even know if our last couple of investments that we've made
are public
at this point. So I don't even know if I can talk about them.
All right, well, here it is. Postmates, I'll do an ad for them right now for free. Postmates, get anything in your city. This is how good I am at reading ads. I don't even have the ad copyright. Here we go. Postmates, yes, anything you want to get it now. Anything in the city delivered in under an hour. Here's the link. Go get the app. And instantly, anything you need, anytime. The testimonials are up there. You need a bicycle. You need a newspaper. You need a bottle of vodka for your party or red wine. Deliver cupcakes. Get what you need and make your life go really well. No order is too small. No order is too big for Postmates. They just get it done. Is that pretty good?
Yay.
There you go. There you go. Postmates. Postmates, send me $4,000. No, it's fine. Are they in LA yet, Postmates? Or are they just in San Francisco still? Yeah.
They're in San Francisco, and I believe this is public. They have a soft launch in Seattle.
Oh, very good. Please come to LA. Please,
This is a tougher
please.
place to do that sort of stuff.
I know what they need to do is just do the west side of LA where I live and where all the rich people are. Just do the west side. That's where Karen lives in Venice. All the rich people are west of the 405, and just do it on scooters. That's it. You just need scooters and Vespas that go fast, and boom, get everything there. But I love it. When the second this comes to LA, I'm gonna be on it. Thank you, Postmates. Hey, and thanks to our official partners, the Resumator. It just works. If you're doing hiring any other way, you're really, really, really making a huge mistake. And what the great part is now, after 5 or 6 years, I can see when people apply for jobs multiple times and what the notes were the last time. It's absolutely fantastic, and that does happen. And I thank them, and thank you to My Turnstone for just the making beautiful furniture that makes everybody just a little bit more motivated and makes everybody. It's like wearing a nice suit or
It just
a
looks
nice
good.
scarf. I like to wear a nice John Varvatos once in a while. What am I wearing today? A little Thomas Mugler. It's like I think it's a German.
Be careful.
And be careful. You're in America now. This is America. You gonna make a suit like that in America? You're gonna be hurt, boy.
Miller move.
I can't believe. I can believe.
Sure.
The stories I heard growing up, because all my friends were cops or going into the cops, and I almost went into the cops. This is one of the crazy stories. I may have told this already. I'm hanging out with a bunch of cops one night. I'm 20 years old, 19, 20 years old, hanging out with cops. And it's not uncommon in that time frame for a cop to literally, this happened, at one of our events, a cop who had a couple of drinks in him, who was off duty, takes out his gun and shoots the bull.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Shoots the bull on Wall Street. To this day, there is a dent in the bull on Wall Street. I kid you not. It made a sound. Boing! He shot the goddamn bull on Wall Street. I mean, this is a dangerous thing to do, right? Cops
Extremely.
In that time frame were nuts. And cops in the South? Maron. It gets crazy down there.
When was the last time you were down there?
I'm never going to the South. Forget it. I mean, listen, I'll fly over the South all day. I'll go to Austin. I'm in and out. Nobody gets hurt. But I'll never drive to Austin, and I'll never drive from Austin to New York. The South makes me nervous. I'm in, I'm out.
Can't write it all off.
I'm in and out of the South. I'm very nervous in the South. That's the only. I'll walk through any area in Brooklyn, New York, San Francisco. The zombies in the South, the market, or whatever. I don't care. I'm fine.
How
you
about
go to
Atlanta?
the South?
How about Atlanta? Houston?
I might go in and out of Atlanta to see like the Hawks play, the Knicks or something, if they were in the playoffs or something. But that's it. Airport to the stadium. Not staying overnight. I'm out.
Wow.
Too dangerous.
I think somebody's got to prove you otherwise.
Maybe. All right, listen, it's been a great program. Let's get the hell out of here, and everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Thanks, Cyan. Thanks, Vivek.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you guys
great job.
so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
When I discovered why they call them rednecks, it literally was like at a McDonald's in Sulphur, Louisiana, and they literally had rednecks from being out in the sun all day.